Today, I want to discuss a very crucial topic that will undoubtedly push XRP to $20 or possibly higher because the Federal Reserve will probably have to take action on it very soon. Having stated that, I wanted to quickly offer some quotes from Arthur Hayes regarding the Fed's upcoming stealth QE and its implications for the markets. After playing this clip, I'll give some more background information in a moment. So how are those measures currently playing out? What is the current state of the liquidity in the various central banks that you are monitoring? Have they been rising? What does it tell you? Therefore, I believe that Bitcoin clearly had a spectacular surge from $70,000 to $110,000 following the Trump election. All these wonderful things were predicted. Additionally, I believe that a lot of this will happen, including the printing of money and other things. Additionally, I believe that expectations were not met by the rate at which credit was created. And for that reason, we had a decline from 110,000 to a low of roughly 76,000 throughout the last 2 weeks. At whatever time. As for the tweet from earlier today, I suppose I've been listening to different people and conducting some analysis over the weekend. I believe that the United States is without a doubt the most significant indicator of credit creation in the world. Everyone else sort of responds to what's going on in the US, and I believe that Powell's tone changed significantly at the most recent Fed board meeting. Before this, he had been quite hostile toward Trump, saying things like, "I'm staying, I'm independent, inflation, we're going to fight it, I do my own thing, so don't even bother to talk to me about interest rates. I don't care about your policy objectives, Trump, I'm here to address inflation. Stop talking." Then the tone of this press conference has completely changed. First of all, since inflation is still higher than their target, these will slow down the rate of quantitative tightening, which means they will let fewer government securities to leave their balance sheet. This is a little odd. Therefore, core PC is the inflation targeting statistic, which is, in my opinion, a bullshit metric. It is the one they consider, and it is higher than 2%. Even when stocks are 4 or 5% below their peak, they are still at all-time highs, you know? Unemployment at its lowest point ever. Real GDP growth in the US is excellent. Nevertheless, COVID has caused the balance sheet to increase by more than $3 trillion. The idea was to aid the common American by reducing inflation by eliminating this credit from the system. At this press conference, however, you might look at the success of the American economy in many areas and say, "Oh, I need to slow down the pace of removing the thing from the system that's caused all this harm to the average American." That's a little odd. He continued by saying that we believe that by purchasing $35 billion worth of Treasury securities each month in the near future, we might be able to offset our mortgage-backed security runoff, which is around $35 billion every month. Correct. As a result, you are essentially purchasing treasuries with manufactured money, which is what MBS, QT, and US Treasury quantitative easing are all about. The dollar's liquidity will benefit greatly from that. I didn't notice that section in the backdrop, though. Thus, I was aware of the Treasury reserves were cut from $25 billion to $5 billion. Then I believed that they were keeping the $35 billion in mortgage-backed securities the same. You went on to say that they will make up for that. I didn't see that. Powell stated that we have not yet determined when in the future. He was teasing the market by revealing their plans, essentially acting as a trial balloon to gauge the response. We may taper QT to be flat, guys. As a result, the Fed's balance sheet will remain unchanged, but we will, on the one hand, permit the roll-off of $35 billion in mortgage-backed securities. However, rather of using that $35 billion to shrink our balance sheet, we will use that money to purchase Treasury securities and maintain low yields in order to assist Besson in supporting Trump, which is highly symbolic for the financial industry. Correct. Therefore, this is something that many individuals truly overlooked, includes myself. And this is a very significant background, since the stimulus alone will bring hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars in liquidity to the US economy. And since cryptocurrencies are heavily dependent on the world's monetary supply, that will be very beneficial for the cryptocurrency industry. Naturally, as XRP is the most popular alternative available to consumers, its price will increase as more money moves through the system and more people have available to invest in the cryptocurrency. Indeed, XRP will also be in charge of facilitating cross-border payments, which in my opinion are becoming increasingly necessary on a large scale when tariffs are taken into account. However, since reciprocal tariffs went online, Trump has been generating hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue through the tariffs, and that figure is only going to increase. The reality is that Trump is maintaining those tariffs even while other nations are retaliating. If his opponents raise them, he will continue to do so. Indeed, if it reaches a certain point, this could lead to the cessation of commerce with other nations. However, if the United States is already experiencing a deficit with that nation, it would be preferable for them to halt trade with them until they can even out the trade and ensure that the United States is not being taken advantage of in any way. Having said that, according to the most recent Java data reports we received, unemployment rates are currently increasing to 4.2%. It was anticipated that China will impose an additional 34% tariff on U.S. imports, as we are currently seeing. We were all aware that they would react in some way. We simply were unsure about the precise moment. Since the Fed is currently practically obliged to provide stimulus which will be beneficial for the long-term health of the U.S. economy, I wanted to dig a little more into this and what it would probably imply for the Fed. Now, based on what I'm about to show you guys, this is something that they are actually likely to do in the next months. As you can see, China reacted quite personally to Trump's tariffs. They have placed export restrictions on 7 different kinds of rare earth materials in addition to 34% taxes. China is aware of President Trump's reliance on rare earth metals: samarium, gadolinium, terbium, dysprosium, scandium, luteum, and I'm not sure how to pronounce the last one, are among the rare earth minerals mentioned in this statement. They are all specifically aimed at the United States of America because they will be necessary if they wish to begin producing and building their own solar panels, computer chips, and other items. You can't get all of these minerals in the United States alone. Because all of these minerals are found in Greenland and Canada, Trump is genuinely interested in acquiring those 2 nations, which would enable the U.S. to become fully independent and self-sufficient. The United States can now be self-sufficient, but unless Trump can work out a deal with China to help reduce the deficit, they will have to pay a hefty premium for all of these rare earth minerals, and China is unlikely to compromise. The 2 nations are now involved in a trade war, and they intend to continue focusing on particular industries that they believe will be most negatively impacted. What does this signify for XRP, the cryptocurrency? We now know, however, that this has a greater chance of producing stimulus sooner rather than later. In order to participate in these trade conflicts, Jerome Powell will need to concentrate on essentially devaluing the US dollar and stimulating the US economy to provide them with sufficient liquidity. Both China and the United States will be doing this, as they did last year. Although there will undoubtedly be some short-term inflation, this might eventually lead to a situation where the U.S. economy is substantially stronger. When we look more closely at the jobs data, we also notice that the U.S. economy added 228,000 jobs in March, more than the 137,000 that were predicted. The number of jobs being added is increasing significantly. Although the unemployment rate has been on the rise, we must also keep in mind that many of these jobs were held by people who were laid off from the federal government. Yes, it increased somewhat, but we're also creating a lot more employment that are adequate for the nation and are contributing to the development of America rather than its destruction. Unproductive government jobs with folks who can't even respond to emails and don't even show up for work. Yes, we do not require those individuals to work. They are merely consuming resources without contributing anything. Therefore, it is not a bad thing to eliminate many government jobs and create a large number of jobs in industries like manufacturing. The February employment figures were reduced down from 140 to 116,000, as you can see. In the U.S., unemployment rates are still growing, and this trend is probably going to continue as a result of government efficiency. Many federal employees will be let go, and the shift in U.S. trade policy will also have an impact on specific industries. However, I believe that this is a favorable long-term scenario for the U.S. After doing some serious math, I've definitely been more conscious of that. The fact that the United States has deficits with other nations of hundreds of billions of dollars makes it quite evident to me that if they keep going in that direction, their economy will continue to contract while the economies of other nations continue to expand relative to it. Thus, the United States is fulfilling its obligations. Once more, I want to quickly go on to XRP and discuss this because yes, there is short-term hardship. I've stated that hundreds and hundreds of times. You really need to be ready to purchase any dip that is offered to you, in my opinion. We are now trading at $2.05 per XRP. Yesterday we dropped as low as 195 and lately fell below $2. Additionally, I do believe that there will be a lot more volatility and unfavorable price action today due to the ongoing trade conflict. You simply need to be ready to purchase those dips and be ready for that as well. In the long run, we do know 2 things, thus every single one of those dips is a godsend. One is the continuation of quantitative easing. In order to finance the debt, interest rates will decrease. Second, as we discussed in that Arthur Hayes interview, the Federal Reserve will be providing more stimulus beyond the purported interest rate reductions for mortgage-backed assets. In summary, the US economy is expected to receive a significant amount of stimulus in the upcoming quarters and 6 months. We're going to see rapid expansion and a lot of money coming back into the systems during that time, which will be fantastic for the banks because they'll be able to take more chances and invest in local businesses rather than just shipping all of this stuff overseas. This will help the US economy grow because banks won't have as much deficit and won't be supporting massive manufacturing hubs in other countries that employ people and create wealth there. All things considered, I think that now is a fantastic moment and place to purchase XRP. I'm setting up buys because of this. As you can see, I bought XRP right here after we fell below $2 during yesterday's bigger slump, and I'm still doing it. I genuinely want to make sure that you can make the most of this circumstance. I am aware that many of you purchase more complex items than that. In fact, if you use futures in addition to your usual spot holdings, you can profit even more from the up and down fluctuations. This is exactly what my community is doing at the moment. Simply by following my entrances and exits, which I post in full transparency, they are earning a ton of money. Additionally, you may join fully for free and check for yourself how much money people are making. Simply complete our simple 3-step registration, deposit and email submission process to receive an invitation to the Telegram and Discord VIP premium groups. I'll see you all in there too. In order to help you build up your financial future and succeed, I look forward to interacting with you all in the community, saying hello, showing you my trades, and teaching you a ton about investing. Please click the like and subscribe buttons, join Crypto Crusaders, and I'll see you in the next video if it speaks to you. Goodbye.